It all started with the most horrible car crash that fateful night. A luxury SUV suddenly swerved off the road and somersaulted multiple times before stopping in a bush. Dozens witnessed the crash, yet no one stopped to help. The driver was half dead, slumped over the steering wheel in the wrecked car, bleeding, broken, and begging with his eyes. The road was quiet that night. Even the breeze was tired, like it had no strength left to blow. Evelyn walked alone along the narrow path beside the highway, her plastic slippers slapping against the ground. A small nylon bag swung from her hand. Inside was bread, the cheapest one from the roadside kiosk. That was her dinner. She had just closed from work at the hospital. 12 hours of cleaning dirty floors, mopping blood, and hearing nurses shout like they were better than everyone else. Her back ached. Her legs felt like wood. But worst of all, she was tired. She lived alone, in a small, hot one-room apartment near the slum. No husband, no children, just silence waiting for her every night. Evelyn hadn't always been alone. 3 years ago, she had a husband, James, and 2 beautiful children, Debbie and Junior. James was a tricycle driver, struggling but good. They were poor, but they were happy. They laughed. They prayed. They made jokes about how their pot of soup never had enough meat. Then, one rainy morning, everything changed. The family was on their way to a family friend's wedding when a speeding truck lost control and crushed their tricycle at a junction. Evelyn was supposed to be with them, but her boss called her for extra work that day. So she stayed behind. Her family didn't die immediately. That was the part that killed her the most. People saw them lying there, bleeding, groaning, crying for help. But no one came. Some were scared. Some didn't want to get involved. Others just brought out their phones and recorded. By the time an ambulance arrived hours later, her husband was dead. Her son was gone. Her daughter held on for a few more hours, then gave up too. Evelyn didn't just lose her family that day. She lost a part of herself. So when she heard the weak sound of a car horn that night, just a soft peep in the distance, her ears stood up. She turned, looked into the darkness. Then she saw it. A wrecked black SUV, deep inside the bush, almost hidden by tall grass. The headlights were broken. The front was smashed. The driver's door hung open like someone had tried to crawl out. She froze. Not again. Please, not again. She ran. Branches slapped her face. Sharp stones cut her feet. But she kept running toward the car. Inside, a man was slumped over the steering wheel. Blood poured from a deep cut on his forehead. His shirt was soaked in red. His eyes were closed. He looked like he had one foot in the grave. "Hello. Can you hear me?" Evelyn shouted. No answer. She felt for a pulse. Weak. Very weak. She screamed into the night, "Somebody help me!" But the road was empty. No cars. No people. Just her and a dying man. She looked at him again. He was fair-skinned, dressed in fine clothes, wearing a wristwatch that looked more expensive than her yearly salary. She didn't know who he was, but she knew what he was, a human being, just like her husband, just like her children. "I won't leave you," she whispered. "Not like they left my family." With all the strength in her small body, Evelyn pulled the man out of the car. He was heavy. He groaned as his body dropped against her. She dragged him onto her back. And then, she walked. She walked barefooted on that tarred road, one step at a time. Her shoulders burned. Her back screamed in pain. Her breath came in gasps. But she didn't stop. Tears streamed down her face, not just for the man on her back, but for the ones she had lost. "I couldn't save them," she whispered through her teeth. "But I'll save you." After what felt like forever, the hospital gate appeared. There was a nurse at the reception desk. Evelyn burst in, sweating and shaking. "Please, help him. He had an accident." The nurse looked up, frowning. "Who is he? Where's his hospital card?" I don't know. I found him on the road. He's dying. A doctor joined them, looked at the man, then at Evelyn. Who's going to pay for him? He'll pay when he recovers, but please, just help him first. The doctor folded his arms. This is a private hospital. We don't run a charity here. If you don't have a deposit, take him to a government hospital. Evelyn stared at them, mouth open. Her heart broke all over again. He will die, she cried. Then that's not our problem, the nurse snapped. Something in Evelyn's spirit snapped. She dropped to her knees, begging, please, I'm begging you. Just try. But they turned away. So Evelyn stood up. Her face was wet with tears. Her body shook with anger. You people, you are no better than the ones who watched my family die. She bent down, picked the man up again, and looked at the doctor one last time. If he dies, it won't be on my hands. It will be on yours. And with that, she walked out of the hospital, into the night, with nothing but her pain, her courage, and a stranger on her back. Evelyn didn't know how she made it home that night. She couldn't feel her legs. Her arms were shaking. The man on her back felt heavier with every step. But she kept going, whispering the same words like a prayer. Stay alive, please stay alive. Her house wasn't far from the hospital, but with his weight and her tired body, it felt like a long journey. Finally, she reached her street. Dirty gutters, broken fences, houses squeezed together like tired people. Nobody came out to help. When she got to her room, she used her back to push the door open. It was small. Just one room with a small mattress on the floor, a worn-out chair, and a broken fan that no longer worked. But it was all she had. That was her world. She laid the man gently on the mattress. His breathing was shallow. His lips were dry. He looked like someone about to cross over. Evelyn sat beside him, panting. Her shirt stuck to her body. Her head throbbed. But there was no time to rest. She stood up, pulled off her headscarf, and used it to wipe the blood on his face. Then she picked up an old metal bowl and ran outside to fetch water from the community tap. Back inside, she cleaned his wounds the best way she could. She boiled some water, soaked an old towel in it, cleaned, pressed, washed again. Her hands moved with experience. She had worked in the hospital for years. Though she was just a cleaner, she had seen nurses do basic first aid. She had picked up things from watching them treat people. He had a deep cut on his forehead, a swelling on his chest. His ribs seemed hurt. But she had no X-ray machine, no doctor, just hope and prayer. She covered him with her wrapper and sat beside him. All night, she didn't sleep. She watched him, listened to his breathing. Sometimes it was normal. Sometimes it slowed down, and she would jump up and shake him. At 3 a.m., she wrote a small note on a piece of torn paper and placed it beside him. It said, "Stay alive. The world still needs you." That became her routine. Every day, she woke up early to check his breathing. She changed his bandages, cleaned his wounds, fed him pap with a spoon. And every day, she left a note beside him. "Don't give up, you are stronger than this." Sometimes he groaned in pain. Sometimes his body shook with fever. But she refused to give up. Neighbors began to notice. Her landlord banged on her door one morning. "Evelyn, who is that man staying in your room? People are talking." She opened the door slightly, her eyes tired. "He's sick. I'm helping him. You, a poor woman like you, you better be careful. If anything happens, you're on your own." She nodded quietly and shut the door. She sold her old radio to buy more food and painkillers. She also bought Dettol and cotton wool. Even when hunger punched her belly, she used her food to keep the man alive. She didn't know why she cared so much, but something inside her couldn't let go. Maybe it was because he reminded her of James, her husband. Maybe it was because this time, she was the one who could make a difference. Maybe it was because saving this man felt like getting a second chance at something life had stolen from her. One evening, she sat beside him and held his hand. "You don't know me," she said softly, "but I know what it means to be alone and helpless. I won't leave you. I promise." She wiped his forehead and looked at him for a long time. And then, something changed. His eyes moved. Not a full blink. Not a full opening. Just a slow, lazy flutter. Evelyn gasped. She leaned forward. "Sir, can you hear me?" No answer. But she was sure she saw it. The next morning, she stayed home from work. She couldn't risk leaving him. Around midday, his lips moved slightly. She grabbed his hand. "Say something. Please, anything." Then he groaned. Not loud, not strong, but enough to make her eyes fill with tears. He turned his head weakly. His eyes opened just a little. Evelyn's heart beat faster. He looked at her face, like someone searching for answers. And then he whispered with a shaky voice, "Where am I?" She bent down quickly. "You're safe. You had an accident. I brought you here. You've been unconscious for days." He blinked, confused. "You brought me?" "Yes," she said, wiping her eyes. "I'm Evelyn. I found you. The hospital refused to help. So I took you home." He stared at her for a long time. Then, with great effort, he said, "You saved my life." She nodded slowly. He took a deep breath, coughed a little, then looked her straight in the eyes. "My name is Nicholas Stone. I'm the CEO of Stonemark Holdings." Evelyn blinked. "Stonemark? The one on TV?" He nodded. "That's me." Silence filled the room. Evelyn sat back, shocked. All this while, she had been feeding pap to a man whose watch could pay her rent for the rest of her life without breaking a sweat. But even then, she didn't smile. She just whispered, "It doesn't matter. I would have saved you either way." For the first time in days, the mood in Evelyn's little room improved. Nicholas was awake now. He sat on the mattress, propped against the wall, still weak but improving. Bandages wrapped around his ribs and head. His breathing was steadier. His skin looked better. The bruises on his arms were fading slowly. Evelyn had just finished boiling water to clean his wounds again. She sat beside him, carefully lifting his shirt to check the swelling on his chest. He winced, but didn't complain. There was something about Evelyn's hands, gentle but firm, like someone who had been through pain, but didn't let it make her bitter. Nicholas looked at her and asked softly, "Why didn't you leave me there, that night?" Evelyn paused. Her eyes shifted to the wall for a moment, then back to his. "Because I know what it feels like to be in that helpless situation. My husband and 2 children died in an accident 3 years ago," she said quietly. "They didn't die immediately. They were alive for hours. But nobody helped. People watched, recorded videos, some even laughed." She wiped her hands with a rag. If someone, just one person, had helped, maybe they'd still be here. Nicholas didn't say anything. He looked at her like he had just met her again for the first time. "I couldn't save them," she whispered. "But I could save you." The room went quiet. Only the sound of the boiling kettle whistling in the corner. Finally, Nicholas spoke. "You don't know how rare that kind of heart is, Evelyn." "I didn't do it for praise," she said, standing to take the kettle off the fire. "I did it because it was right." That night, Nicholas asked for her old Nokia phone and typed a number slowly. The line rang once, then again, then someone picked up. "I'm alive," he said into the phone. "Don't ask questions. I'll explain later. Just send a car to this location." He paused, listening, then handed the phone to Evelyn. "Tell them how to find this place." She gave simple directions. When she ended the call, she looked at him, unsure. "So, you're leaving tomorrow?" "Yes," he said. "I have to. My people are looking for me. I disappeared without warning." He tried to stand but grunted in pain. Evelyn rushed to help. "Take it easy," she said. He chuckled softly. "I've been a boss for so long. I forgot what it feels like to depend on someone." That night, she let him rest, but she didn't sleep. She sat in the corner, watching him, unsure if she'd ever see him again. In the morning, there was a heavy knock on the door. Evelyn opened it slowly. Two tall men in black suits stood outside, beside a sleek black SUV. The kind of car that had never entered that street before. One of the men nodded. "We're here for Mr. Stone." Evelyn stepped aside as they helped Nicholas up and into the vehicle. He looked back at her one last time before he entered. "Evelyn," he said gently, "thank you for saving my life. I'll never forget you." She smiled, trying to hide the sadness in her eyes. "I'm just glad you're okay." He paused, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a pen. "Please write your number in my palm," he said. "I'll call you when I get back to my base." She nodded and scribbled her number on his palm. Then the car door shut, and the SUV drove away, leaving behind dust, silence, and an empty room. Evelyn stood at the doorway, her heart heavy, and whispered, "I don't need anything. I just need to know you didn't end up like my family did." Days passed, then weeks, and still, nothing. No call, no text, no message. The memory of Nicholas lying down on her mattress felt almost like a dream now. She kept checking her phone every day as if that could make it ring. But it never did. At first, she told herself, maybe he's busy. Maybe he just needs time. But as the days stretched, a quiet pain grew in her chest. At the hospital, the other cleaners mocked her. "Madam Nurse, why don't you open your own hospital now? I was involved in an accident. Please take me home and treat me for free." She forced a smile, laughed when they laughed, but inside, it stung. Then, one Monday morning, as she walked into the hospital gate, a guard stopped her. "The managing director wants to see you." She followed him to the office of the new hospital director, a man she had never spoken to before. He didn't smile. He didn't even greet her. He just pushed a file across the table. "We found out you stole hospital supplies. Dettol, bandages, cotton wool, antibiotics." Evelyn's mouth fell open. "Sir, please. I didn't steal. I only took what the hospital didn't need." "Did you take it home without approval?" "Yes, but then that's stealing." Her voice broke. "I used it to save a man's life. The hospital refused to help him. I had no choice." The man closed the file and folded his arms. "You're fired." Tears filled her eyes. "Sir, please, this job is all I have." He stood. "Then you should have thought twice before breaking the rules." She packed her bag and walked out slowly. That afternoon, she sat under a mango tree, holding her uniform like it was a baby being taken away. She cried. Quietly. Deeply. Not just because she lost her job, but because it felt like she had been forgotten again. That evening, she returned home to a new surprise, a quit notice pasted on her door. 3 months rent unpaid, the note read. Her landlord didn't even wait for her to come to him. He just shouted from his window, "Pack your things. You've had enough." Pity. Evelyn didn't argue. She was too tired to fight. She gathered her clothes into a gonna-must-go bag, wrapped the small foam mattress in nylon, and left. Just like that. By nightfall, she was sitting under a bridge near the market, resting her head against a bag of second-hand clothes. Her only plan now was to wake up early and figure out how to survive. The next morning, she borrowed a tray from an old woman in the market and started frying akara. She sat near the bus stop, selling akara and groundnuts, calling out to passers-by with a shaky voice. That was her life now. No job, no home, just hope holding on by a thread. Then, around 6:30 p.m., while the sky turned orange and the market buzzed with tired voices, something strange happened. Two big, shiny, black SUVs with tinted windows pulled into the market. People stopped and stared. Market women paused their shouting. Bike men slowed down. Even beggars looked up. The first car door opened. A well-dressed man stepped out in a gray suit and dark glasses. He looked around like he was searching for someone. He approached Evelyn slowly. "Excuse me, are you Evelyn Williams?" She dropped her Acura spoon. Her voice shook. "Yes." He didn't say much. "Please come with us. Mr. Nicholas sent us to bring you." The whole street watched as the men helped her into the black car. The onlookers shouted and clapped. "Evelyn, your level has changed." The gossip flew like birds. But Evelyn couldn't speak. She sat in the leather seat, heart racing, hands shaking. The car drove off, past the market, past her old street, past everything she knew. Then, it turned into a quiet estate. Big gates, high fences, neatly trimmed flowers. They stopped in front of a glass building with golden lights. The door opened. Evelyn stepped out slowly, legs trembling. And there, standing in the center of the hallway, dressed in a navy blue suit, eyes filled with quiet emotion, was Nicholas Stone. He took 2 steps forward and said the words that made her eyes fill with tears. "I didn't forget you. You saved me when I was nothing but a stranger." Evelyn blinked, her hands still holding the edge of her wrapper. "I thought you forgot about me." Nicholas shook his head. "How could I?" He led her into a quiet private lounge inside the building. A large painting hung on the wall. It was a portrait of a woman carrying someone on her back. Underneath, it read, "Kindness is the strongest power on earth." They sat. Then Nicholas spoke. "I left without saying enough, Evelyn. The truth is, when I got back home, I didn't just return to a company. I returned to a war. My accident was actually an assassination attempt. Someone had sabotaged my car that day. If not for you, their plan to steal my company would have worked. I was occupied with fishing out the culprit and getting justice. But I kept thinking about you, about how you saved my life." He reached into a brown folder on the table and slid it across to her. "What's this?" Evelyn asked, confused. "Open it," he said. With trembling hands, she opened the folder. Inside were multiple documents, titles, approvals, and a photo of a stunning 2-bedroom bungalow. "This is your new house," he said gently. "Paid in full. You'll never have to beg a landlord again." Evelyn gasped, her eyes already full. "There's more," Nicholas continued. "I've set up a foundation in your name, the Evelyn Hope Fund. It will pay for emergency medical treatment for accident victims in poor communities. No more dying at hospital gates." She covered her mouth with both hands. "And one more thing." He handed her a second envelope. Inside it was an employment letter. "You're now the head of community care under Stonemark Group. You'll have a full staff, salary, driver, all the support you need." Evelyn stared at the paper. Her lips quivered. "But I don't even have a secondary school certificate." Nicholas smiled. "You have something better, a heart that money can't buy. That's what this world needs." Evelyn looked down at her hands as they shook with disbelief. "Why are you doing all this?" she whispered. Nicholas leaned forward. "You didn't help me because of what I had. You helped me because of who you are. You treated me with dignity when I looked like nothing. You fed me with your last pap, washed my blood with your hands. You fought for me when even trained doctors walked away." He pulled out a small white card from his wallet and handed it to her. On it were 5 words, written in gold, signed by a stranger, "Forever grateful." Evelyn held the card close, tears rolling down her cheeks. It wasn't just about the gifts. It was about finally being seen, being valued, being heard. A few weeks later, Evelyn stood in front of the same hospital that once turned their backs on her and the dying man she carried. This time, she came in a black SUV. This time, she wore a clean, fitted gown. This time, she walked with boldness. She didn't go inside. She simply handed the receptionist a letter, an anonymous donation to fund free emergency care for accident victims. Then she turned and walked away. As Evelyn entered her car and the driver pulled away, she leaned back in the seat and smiled. Not because she had houses or titles now, but because she proved something to herself and to the world. Kindness isn't weakness, and when you give with a pure heart, it always comes back. Sometimes from the very person you least expect.